Okay, so Lynn, I think it's a couple weeks down the road before you'll open this, but we're wishing you all the best as you've got your sandals and shorts back on again, and perhaps something else as well, just to be appropriately dressed. Lots of love from up north. And just so you know, it's sunny and warm up here today. And yesterday or the day before, Karen picked a raspberries. So there, Florida bunny. And Patricia is with us, but only partly with us. She's got a sore foot. So she's going to sit back and just watch us take on the challenge here and then try it on herself later. So the recording has begun. Okay, so first of all, this time I taped my paper to be the same size. You did not have to do that, but you know, you can extend the roof and extend the buildings if you want to. So I did it precisely exactly this time. And so when I did my transfer lines, you can see I've left them like, they're not super light. They're like the Three Little Bears. This is kind of just right, not too strong, not too light, because it doesn't hurt to have the shadow lines. But this is a very complicated transfer. So like I was just saying before I was recording, when I was transferring, I was like started at the top, and as I got to the side of this, got this house done, I stuck my finger on it. And then I did this one and stuck my thumb on there. And I could just work my way down so I can have some way to manage. So if you think about 1, 2, 3, kind of like 4 and a bit houses, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one behind, it gets really tricky. So I just find myself octopusing, like kind of putting my fingers on places as I'm getting it done. And then when I'm done, I pin 2 fingers, like a thumb and finger, because I have a thumb, and I would just flip it up and check it and flip it and check it. Because if you just trust the tape, it usually will wiggle a little bit, like Marion, that might have happened to you. So I just pin it down somehow, and I go to the side or the bottom and flip it down. But I pin it physically with my other hand before I start to do double checks, right? It's like those old flip books. So while I've got it like this, and before I transfer again so you can see my face talking at you, the best way to handle something like this is to love it, first of all, to realize why this is such an exceptional piece. And this is in the AGO. It's one of their major collections there, so it's pretty much always there. And a lot of it is because it's kind of neat to do the perspective of maybe he climbed up a tree. Probably he's in an apartment building looking down. But it's just interesting, the perspective and the amount of snow, and that he did this with oil, not with watercolor. But when we get close to that roof, it's almost like the look of when you get a fever and you get that kind of blotchy skin. But the colors in here, if we could expand the screen and really look at the colors in here, we see yellows and peach tones in there. So for our watercolor method, we're going to get into this today and have a lot of fun with it. But I think what we want to do first of all, before we get into all about the roofs, is to think about blocking out. So when you're approaching something so with so many layers as this is, we know the last thing is the dark, because we're doing watercolor. So we're going from light gradually to medium, finally to dark. So the last thing we're going to worry about is trees. That can go on later. Last thing we're going to do is the windows, which if you look outside across the street from where you are right now, even Petra, inside windows during the day, it's black. Because at nighttime when the light's on, it lights something up, right? So we can see we have places where we've got curtains and blinds and different, but some of this adds some character to the piece because it's causing all of our straight lines to sometimes have some little details to draw the viewer in to look longer in different areas. So we're going to tackle all the roofs today, and we're going to play around this yellow ochre, and we're going to see how far we get. But can you imagine if you were to get all the yellow ochres and lemon yellow, all the yellows kind of in, and then all the shadow, all these kind of periwinkly, bluey, lavender shadows on the snow, and get those in. Now we have contrast, yellow to blue, and the whole painting starts to get more fun. It takes a lot of the pressure off when we get rid of the white canvas, and we start to have a way to start. So we are going to play around with dabbing into these roof areas, and playing around with our blues and our yellows, looking to next week getting into detail work and doing the medium to dark, and then finally the trees and windows and things like that. Kind of like the plan, right? So let's talk about roofs. We're going to start with the roofs. And we are going to not do the shadow areas. We're going to do those separately. Because with watercolor, if you're to do the tones of these peachy yellows in the roof and then do the shadows, you're going to get shadows of green instead of the blue. So keep that in mind right now. Park that into your memory that we're going to be doing the roofs without the shadow. And once it's dry, then we can get in and do the blue areas, right? The shadow areas. But the other thing is when you've got a roof right next to each other, you know, 3 different ways right next to each other, what do we need to do there, Karen? Got 1, 2, 3 roofs next to each other. So what do we want to do is, what do we want to make sure we don't do? We got 3 beside each other. Painting wet, dropping in color, wet, dropping in color. If we do all 3 of those at the same time, they're going to bleed into each other. So you'll create even more confusion for the viewer. That's why I didn't mind having a bit of a line showing there. So that's what Karen was saying. So as we get into this, we're going to just mix up some little puddles. And, you know, I was thinking before I went to sleep last night, I was thinking with my style, I would take the tip of like the end of one of my knitting needles, and I would just be tapping in some color of the colors that I need. And then once it's fully dry, putting a wash of water on to loosen it up. But we're not going to do that because that's Jenny kind of experimenting. So let's go with our medium-sized brush and just get it woken up. Good morning, brush. Good afternoon, brush. Let's just get ourselves ready. I apologize. I realize I have not put my drops of water on my own pans. I have to fire myself. Oh, and the other thing I always want to say with all of these group of 7, we're doing watercolor. So not only do we not have to try to mirror exactly what they did, we can also totally on purpose not do what they did and do our own color palette and our own ideas. That should be better there. So I'm just giving my palette a bit of a wiggle. We'll get the water kind of spread over those surfaces. Get my hair back in my face. It is one warm and a bunch of warm and sunny afternoons, eh?
Beautiful.
It's just what a gift, this deliciously slow fall. So I'm liking using long, thin pieces of paper now as we go forward, because then when you do a color swatch, you can color swatch right on the edge of your paper and then poke it right next to a color to see how it's looking. So if I get in there now, just ahead of you a bit, and I get a bit of yellow ochre on here. And again, you know, my camera doesn't give me true colors, but as I put that in next to these yellow areas, kind of like stucco houses, I can see where this color, just pure yellow ochre from the bottom left on its own is already, but I can use that in many areas. But I am pretty sure that these are houses that are from the area where the Toronto City Hall is now. And the Eaton Center and the Eaton Center factory used to be right there. So a lot of these were the workers' homes. And that's why if you were to look closely, you may see some areas that just don't look like the houses are in the best shape, but it's been done artistically to look interesting. Anyways, within all of these yellows, our intention is not to copy him exactly, but it's instead to have a variety of different tones to pop in there. So let's take this house here, for example, because we can see which way is the sun coming from, Petra, do you think?
I think it's like in front, like so shining in.
This way a bit, right? Because if we have the shadow there of this roof, the sun's going to be coming this way.
Okay.
And so it's beautiful because everything's so bleached out and gorgeous like that, right? But because of that too, underneath this roof, we've got a little bit of a shadow line. So therefore, under all the roofs, we've got a bit of a shadow line. And that will be something we would layer as a second layer if you wanted to, you know, at a different time. So we're going to drop in a first layer and then all the other stuff we'll leave to a different time. So what I want you to do right now is taking some water and putting 1, 2, 3 heads of water into your left side, press and roll, and get some yellow ochre in there. So I did 3 heads of water and I've done 3 press and rolls of yellow ochre. And so what I end up with is milk to cream. So when I say that, it means it's strong enough. I mean, this is an opaque color, primarily, mostly opaque, but it's like I can still, if I draw a line through it, it fills up pretty quickly. Actually, I've got a bit too much water on my palette. Yeah, I'd say that's more like milk. So I'm not going for something thick and strong because what I want to have right next door to that is some lemon yellow. So that's ready for me to drop into some areas. So now I've got a bit of yellow ochre, a bit of lemon yellow, and I'm also going to bring in a little bit of cad orange, put that in the right side. I'm just looking for a variety of tones. And to my cad red pale, which looks like orange. I should really rename that. And if I mix that with a bit of my yellow ochre, it's going to give me my third, more orangey tone. So if you just think about, you know, it's not yellow ochre, it's not cad red medium, it's the cross between the two, is that color that we want. And I'm happy with those 3 shades myself. You know, I don't want to get over busy with it. So I've got something light, something medium, and something that's leaning towards an orangey tone of yellow ochre. So I just look at the body language here. So what I'm hoping is you don't take this too seriously. You're sort of playing around with getting some mixes up there. And I want you to get into doing each of these houses the way that you like them. But you'll start to notice on the image, like, oh yeah, okay, I can see where there's a bit more of a lemony tone next to a yellow ochre. Oh yeah, I can see where there's a bit more of an orangey tone. And there could even be a bit of a raspberry tone in some of them where you could cut in with a bit of alizarin crimson, not very much, just like a drop, and just play around with these houses. So what I think is that these houses are all in the same palette, going from like a lemon yellow right to a bit more of a, I'll actually put a bit of raspberry, a bit of my alizarin crimson in part of it. Some of it is just a little bit more towards a rosy color. And that one house I'm talking about, well, actually 2 of them, is on this side and on this side. It's kind of right and left. But, you know, we have a little wooden shack down here, which was like what Tom Thompson's original studio was like. And then just below that, something even a bit more red. So rather than everybody do it just exactly like this, instead I want you to think in terms of light to dark. What is truly yellow ochre and what has a bit more of an orange tone and what's a bit lighter and what has a little bit more raspberry in there. So now I can take my swatch paper and have my yellow ochre in one spot right along the edge of it. Rinse and snap off my brush, put a little bit of lemon yellow next to that, and even allow them to blend a bit because that's what they're going to do on the faces of these houses. And then a bit of my cad medium with yellow ochre, and then finally a little bit of that kind of bit of alizarin crimson mixed in with that to get me kind of a warm tone raspberry. And then I can just be aware of where do those go? How do those fit in? And then there's the main house right smack in the middle. There's a bit of a green tone to that. That's not going to be hard to figure out, right? Just add a itsy bitsy teeny weeny dot of blue if you want to get into that green tone. All of that's optional. These can all be fluorescent pink houses if you want. I don't. I have personally decided I adore the Edwardian color palette of puce green and yellow ochres and buttery colors, and Karen knows all about it. This is really warm, cozy colors. Okay, just popping around the camera. Patricia's still smiling at me. Your palette's pretty cool there, Marion. So you've got quite a load of color in that one little.
Well, I'm using this one as well.
Yeah, but that's all cool. Love that. And your metallic brand new set finally came in like 2 hours ago. Are you okay with the one you got? Because you can switch it at any time.
No, that's fine.
Okay, cool. I figured you'd say that. So I'm going to drop in. So the first house I'm going to do is actually be helpful if this was the right way. I'm going to do this house first. So it's right in the middle on the left side because I like the variations of all the colors in there. I'm not going to touch the trim. I'm going to let that fully dry, but I'm going to get into doing the face of it. And frankly, I could drop a bit of yellow ochre into the curtain behind the window too, because I'm in there anyways, right? So it might as well be efficient. So I'm going to get in on that now. So I'm doing a first layer. That means a glaze, right? So you're doing a first layer. And I'm going to stick with this building because I want to kind of play around with dropping it a bit of lighter and dropping it a little bit darker. So my first glaze layer, I don't want it to be too juicy. I want to be able to control the amount of water in there. So you're looking up more than you're looking down to find out where to put your brush. And just get that first layer in. And then you can go back to the first part that you started to paint and play. So ways to play is to drop in a bit more, or lift a bit more off, or I'm adding a tiny bit of lemon yellow to the bottom of this. So as it goes up, it becomes straight yellow ochre. So I think these are plaster buildings. Anybody know? Looks like that to me.
Looks like.
So one way to, we're learning a lot about control now, right? If you want control, you can't have tons and tons of a watery mix on your brush because it's all going to drop into that tiny little space. So instead you just want enough and not too much. And then you can start to play in with putting, in my case, I'm putting a bit of that lemon yellow in the bottom shapes. But I'm not copying it perfectly. I'm just going with the idea of it. And as I get closer towards the top, I'll put in a little bit of a stronger yellow ochre mix. A little bit more pigment in there. And that's enough because I feel like I've made it interesting. I've told a bit of a story about it being lighter at the bottom, darker closer to the roof. I adore this piece. I stand in front of it every time I'm there. You can't help but start to wonder about the people that live there. And I'm still playing around. Because as it's starting to dry, I start to see my shapes more. And I can start to, you know, I talk about shoveling snow around because you can kind of push the pigment around, get it to be a bit stronger in some areas, a little bit more transparent in others. So you're manipulating it. And then because it is probably this kind of plaster, whatever stuff, sometimes I'm going to tap, tap, tap with the tip of my brush. And that's going to create just that little staccato effect. It's going to create a little bit of that mottled look. A little more like plaster, less like a smooth building. Now you could play with adding cad medium to your yellow ochre. That's probably more the color within that window. So if you want to get into that, I would just being very careful again with how much is loaded onto your brush tip. But I think the little blind inside the window or whatever that is just a little bit more towards a cad medium. So it's a little mix of yellow ochre and cad medium. So you can see this is definitely a 2-week painting. It's like painting a little puzzle. Now, Marion, I feel excited about your doing this kind of piece because I see you're very concentrated on details. And I think you're going to enjoy doing this piece.
Well, I'll probably try to do it again with the, you know, the,
Recorded link thing.
yeah. Because I like to watch what you do. It's hard to do it and watch. For me, anyway.
Yeah, you know, and I look up and try to read the body language of when heads are up and looking, but I don't want people sitting around waiting for me either. So that's great. I love the what we've learned together. But it's nice to have these recordings.
Mm-hmm.
And I listen to them sometimes too to see like how much sense am I making? Was there a better way to have done that? So now I'm going back in again because I could just keep playing forever. I'm just defining some of my edges a little bit more because I want to. Certainly the house is more towards the middle. We're going to notice those details a bit more. So I'm getting pretty happy with that. And I'm just squaring up my edges a little bit. So as far as the shadow and the roof and stuff, I can come back at that later. I say that because one side of my window, one side of the house is too high. Well, I'm lifting that off now, but I could have just put the shadow over that. So just to be annoying, I'm going to move on. So what I see there is the same color mix as some other places, you know, it's the same palette. So one of those is this big slanted roof here. So just glance up for a second. The colors I see here, I also see here, which carry on down here. So I'm going to go work there, there, and up there. 1, 2, and 3, using that same mix. And Pedro, you're going to need to show everyone your plane piece later because no one was on the camera at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so let's make sure before the end of the class because it's come out super well. So Pedro, do you have any connection with small planes?
No.
Yes, you really seem to have put your heart into that piece. I think you like doing it.
It was fun.
I actually sketched mine again or traced it again.
You
right
did?
side up. And the wheels make much more sense now.
Oh yeah, I don't even think they made sense the way Lauren did them. Because yeah, there's something a way that, I mean, I don't know how else to put it. because they're just part of that body of the plane and the two different wings, and some of it just didn't seem logical.
Yeah, well,
So just shows you can do what you want. Marianne, when's the last time you were at AGO?
EGO.
Oh, the art gallery of
A long
Ontario.
time ago, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, a long time ago, yeah.
Would it be nice to go, all of us, as a field trip?
Mm-hmm.
Go get some good food and
I'd love that. Did you say that the McMichael Gallery is where they still have a group of 7 showing?
well, it's actually the home of the group of 7, and there are even some graves for some of the group of 7 on that property. So the McMichael were major supporters of them all, but Tom Thompson's shack, which was downtown Toronto,
Yeah,
was moved there. You've been there?
yeah.
Yeah,
Years
most of the
ago.
collection
I
there.
mean, when I was in high school, basically,
Right.
long time ago.
Field trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where the home of them all are. So they may go out on the road on show. So I've gone in sometimes and been quite disappointed because there was hardly anything.
Yeah.
But then they'll have Emily Carr and they'll have different particular shows going on there. Yeah, I've got a membership and they've lowered their price quite a bit. So anyone can afford to go there now, which is nice. I think it's $35 for a year or something.
Wow.
It didn't used to be like
Pretty
that.
good.
But yeah, the McMichael, sorry, I think I got my own self mixed up. The AGO also has a permanent collection of group of 7, and it's the upstairs, and they have like 5 rooms, 6 rooms just dedicated to the group of 7. So that's really nice.
So this is the fancy building downtown?
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking of the Roy Thompson Hall, but the art gallery is down there, right?
Wow, it has been a while. We need to
No?
fix that. It's such a nice, I mean, even with everything COVID, they pivoted so well. They had online classes. And when you go in there now, like they've made modifications.
Yeah.
So you can't walk around with kind of the menu showing what all the pieces are. And anyways, something's going on with my computer. Hang on. I shall return, I promise. Why? What and why? Wow, I think one of my outlets died. It's okay now. My goodness, if it's not one thing, it's another.
Okay.
Yeah, it just booped, and booping officially means that it's plugged in. I'm triple checking. 10%, oh, it is plugged in and 11% available. Wow.
Oh.
Had an accountant here for 4 hours a day. I'm surprised I can even talk.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, Marian, it looks like you're on the same path as me there. Let me stroll around the room. Petra's deeply focusing. So, Petra, I can see the side of your arm and hand, but not the art piece, and I can see your cute face, but that's it. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So we're all kind of in the same place. And stroll around the room again. Find Karen. Oh, Karen's out eating raspberries out back. Oh, there she is. Okay, so you're working on those spots. So right now, you've already got that first sense of, okay, so maybe I can actually tackle this painting, because we've got to do it piecemeal, piece by piece. And the fun thing is going to be the contrast with blue. When we get those shadows in, it's all going to start to go like, oh, because this is a very colorful piece. For all that white, that none of it really is white, those are just some beautiful colors. and how important it is to have the black, like to have the high contrast. If we took out all the really darks out of this piece, it would be very confusing to look at for one thing. You know, it just wouldn't be as pretty.
Mhm.
Okay, so having done those ones, I'm just going to point to where I'm moving next. So to me, where the end of my brush is right now, that piece, right? And then the house in front, those guys to me are a bit similar. So I'm going to start to play around with them, and that's where I'm going to put in a little bit more of a lighter tone. So I'm taking my lemon yellow, mixing it with a little bit, it's like our Fruit Loops commercial, mixing it a little bit with my yellow ochre, and I'm just going to start to play around in there. I don't really want to mix every single color because this would take longer than a 2-week class, right? So I'm just going to lay that in there. I'm even going into where the shadow underneath the roof is going to be eventually, because I just like to block out my shapes. It's one of the easiest ways to start to approach a painting is to get rid of all the white as soon as you can. And it just starts to give you hope.
You're blocking out the shadow underneath the windows?
I'm even putting paint where the shadow will go because it will be darker than the color I'm putting in. Just
Okay.
getting rid of the white. So at the moment, all I've done is drop in one color. And then just as it's starting to settle into the paper and get absorbed, then I can start to move and push and drop in and create texture. All right, so right now I'm just waiting till it glazes a little bit more. I'm going to put a tiniest little bit of blue just to cause a little bit of a green tone. But not everywhere, just cutting a bit of that yellow. It's definitely got a sense of more shadow on these pieces. So when I see a tiny bit of blue, like you wouldn't know I did any, I'm just graying out my yellow tone a little bit more. So always looking at the shapes you see within the shapes. I'm doing a lot of tapping now, moving things around, watching for my drying time. And this is the playability of watercolor. As it's starting to dry, you can tap in, you can create shapes. It's getting more and more familiar with when you can play with it and do things to it. Good, Marian. I'm glad to hear that when you watch it again, you can really watch me demoing more. And so that you're probably more of a visual learner too, which is definitely what I am. So I have a new installation in the gallery now, Judy Sherman and Eva Folks. And Judy Sherman did a master's degree in something linguistic therapy. I don't know. It's like learning how people, their learning style. So she can just talk to somebody and she can figure out what some of their learning style is. And she's like, you're like a verbal visual, aren't you? Oops, sorry, I got delivery. It'll be one sec. Molly, delivery. Thank you. Hook one, hook two. Welcome. Yeah, so I'm predominantly a visual learner. If I see it, I can do it. Sometimes. So I'm still staying in that place, just playing around, moving, seeing the shapes. It's like looking at clouds and trying to find sheep, you know, you're like looking at the shapes, seeing where there's a straight line and a curved line. Sometimes cleaning and drying my brush and lifting a bit of color off, so I've got a lighter shape. I just think this is very fun. So there was a phrase that Monet used to use, and I don't remember it right now, but it's something in French that means all at once. Do either of you know what, any of you guys know what that would be? Patricia would tell us if she could get up and come over and tell us. But anyways, you could paint this all at once, like dropping in your shadows, lifting and dropping in cooler and warmer tones. You just got to watch your drawing time, right? Molly and I are going back into a no shopping for 4 months thing. So we're both getting like secondhand winter coats coming in. She just got a Canada Goose, an older one that's like right below the knees for $80. And it's from before they used to brand it. There's no Canada Goose written outside of the coat anywhere, but it's a full out down parka,
Nice.
secondhand for $80.
Wow.
Where do you go shopping?
Poshmark. So it's
Where?
online and you can look up your favorite brands and get something that's secondhand or just wasn't used. And it's used on a rating system. So have you heard of that company, Karen?
What's it called?
Poshmark.
Poshmark.
I signed up, but I haven't bought anything through them.
I got a North Face Arctic parka that retails $450 and up. And then when I arrived, it was brand new and I got it for $85. It was just someone had outgrown the size. So the whole deal about it is the rating system of the vendor. If they've got a 5-star rating and they've been working for years, you know, and you see people's reviews. And if you don't like it, you just immediately re-Poshmark it. So you resell it to someone. It's just smart spending.
You try it first, or I mean, does it come to you first?
You pay for it, you buy it. And then
Yeah.
and you can make them an offer, you can do whatever you want.
Mhm.
I've gotten a couple of t-shirts for like $12. And if it's not your size or you don't like it or don't want it, then you re-Poshmark it. You sell it back.
Mhm.
So Molly's done that a few times where she sold it for more because she knew the value of it better than the seller. But I tell you, I love having less stuff. But I'm a little larger than I was a couple of years ago. So what are you going to do? Go out and buy a bunch of new stuff because you're a bit larger? No, you get secondhand stuff. So once you have like those buildings done, take a moment and start to notice where you see those colors in other places. So if you just want to look up the camera really quick, right up here, there's 1, 2, right there. We have a little yellow window. Like there's a window covering in that same tone of yellow. So I can start popping around and just dropping in the colors that I have mixed right now. Sometimes it's cad lemon yellow and yellow ochre combined. But you're just looking like microscopically, where else do I see those colors? And just put them in there. And occasionally I'm adding a tiny bit of ultramarine blue to my yellow ochre. And that gives me a bit of that greening, like a greener tone of the yellow. So I wish I could show you well enough on my swatch paper, but it is this one here. And it's just a bit more of a green tone. But again, it's just my cameras, which I might figure that out someday. So then I'm going to start to notice where can I put in the next mix, which is getting into a bit of a greened out yellow.
What did you mix the blue with?
So with the yellow ochre, I've taken just a dot of ultramarine blue, just a dot from the side. Whoop, not that. That was not a dot. And I'm just mixing it in with my yellow ochre to get that green yellow. still yellow, but it's greened out. And then I can go to this house. Wow, see, I didn't transfer that little fella. Here, mechanical pencil. Do I really need it? No, I don't really need it. So I'm just gonna go in and down and over there. So I'm into this section, popping in a bit of that greener tone. And then from there I can play, because we're doing shapes that are like 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch. They're small shapes, you know? So you can just put in a thin layer and then start to move it around, to manipulate it. So I've just cooled down and greened out a bit of my yellow ochre. And now I'm going back in with yellow ochre just to fill in those little shapes that I see. The shapes on all of these faces of the houses are kind of like camouflage, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. When I first looked at it, I thought we were doing Whoville.
Oh,
You know, looking down from the mountain just before the snowball comes or the sled comes down. I forget how the story goes.
you know, it just blows my mind. Where was I yesterday? Habitat for Humanity. And boom, everything's Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Halloween one day and then boom.
Yeah.
I know you hate Dollarama, but I
Oh.
was at Dollarama on Halloween evening,
Yeah.
and they as people were coming in to look for last minute stuff, 2 women were throwing all the Halloween stuff into boxes and putting up the Christmas stuff
Mm.
before they'd even finished.
Yeah. Canadian Tire was like that too. They had more Christmas than Halloween, and they were just restocking all of this stuff.
I've never been very supportive of Halloween. I don't know, between the way I raised my kids and then working in a school where we really wanted to emphasize lovely things. And so I found myself getting a bit sort of closed-minded about it. But then I thought, you know, it's the only time I meet half my neighbors. That's when they come out. But
Mhm.
nobody came this year anyway. One student.
We hardly had any.
Well, you know, they had that spectacular in Streetsville, right? So that was Saturday or Sunday, I don't know. But just
was
lots of families with their kids. And I just think
Yeah.
that was lovely because it was daytime
Mm-hmm.
and it was sweeter and they had like the little market and I loved
Yeah.
that idea.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be partaking next year.
With what?
With just buying treats and the
Oh,
whole
'cause
thing,
yeah,
decorating and
okay.
everything, because you know, we could have taken everything to the church. They were doing something on the Saturday with the kids. And like having a, you know, you put all the candy and whatever in the trunk of your car and that type of thing. I haven't gone to it yet, but there's always little kids around here that I look forward to seeing. There was only one that I knew.
I had
Only
one
this
student
year.
come to the door and then 2 teens came and I gave them a full tour because I just really feel like they really need connections right now.
Yeah.
So I hung out and talked to them for a while and I think it was all worth it just for that one moment.
Hmm.
But
I
yeah,
used to like it when we would, like when we were in our townhouse originally, or even at our second home. We used to always like stand outside and hand out the candy and, you know, see everybody coming up and stand out there and yak with the neighbors, and it was all nice, community-ish.
When we moved into this house, it was in the later part of the day on Halloween. And that's how we met all our neighbors
Oh,
originally. It was
Oh,
fun.
that's
And the
nice.
movers would come by and take a candy, and other people would be coming to the door. It was fun.
I remember when I lived in north of Peterborough, and at that time, like you knew all your neighbors, and you go door to door,
Yeah.
and people had made their own Rice Krispie squares wrapped in Saran wrap, and they made the candy apple, and you come in and have a hot chocolate and talk for a while, and you know
Yeah.
your costumes were all made handmade. You weren't going out to Dollarama to get stuff, right? I mean, we're all from the same kind of era, but yeah, it was just, and then it became pins and razors and apples and stuff, and people remember that? I mean, I
What
think I
about
was in
that
high
fellow
school.
that hung a life-like body from a noose? Did you hear that news story? That was maybe last week sometime.
Well, when my kids' classes asked, like, so Jenny, are you going to dress up and are you going to do the house and are you going to have all kinds of stuff for Halloween? And I said, you know, guys, it's not a judgment on you, but I remember when I was a kindergartner and I had my kids, and some of them were quite young. I went into Loblaws to get groceries, and they had these like things they could make with silicone rubber, like the screaming faces with the blood
Yeah.
hanging out and the intestines and stuff like in Loblaws hanging over the balcony. And I remember a little girl saying, "Mommy, what's that? What the heck are we doing? It's where's the filters? You know, it's one thing if you're at an adult party and you're all into that, but just to go into like a dentist or something, they have
Yeah.
like what are we doing? It's the same as so many things in society, like people with F Trudeau on a sticker in the back of their car, like, you know, and Canadian flags hung upside down. Like, where's the there's just a lot of thoughtless stuff going on. Anyway, so with the kids' classes, I was just saying, it just what they can do these days with stuff, and all the kids are into super scary adult movies,
Yeah.
like those super horrific, and we're talking 10 to 12-year-olds. Like, I can't, I need to stand up for what so
I
I'm
can't
just
watch it.
dotting around now, and as I've gone from a yellow ochre lemon yellow to mixing a bit of cad medium to starting to green colors out a bit, now I'm starting to move to being a little bit more comfortable to get up into these little raspberry shades. So to me, that's where I'm taking my yellow ochre and adding a little bit of cad red medium and just putting that in as a beginning glaze. So yellow ochre, press and roll, get that up there. Adding a little dot of alizarin crimson to get it into a different tone. Sorry, I should have said cad medium. Sorry, cad red pale. I had the hardest time calling this red anything. But getting into those tones. So you're playing around with yellow ochre to make it kind of that dull, opaque. And then just warming it up a bit with cad red pale. And then taking some of that down into a bit of alizarin in the bottom corner. So I've kind of got those mixes going on. So for the 15th time, sorry, I know I didn't say that very well, yellow ochre. And to that recipe, I will add cad red pale. So it's starting to look more like a warm orange. And then I'm just adding a bit of alizarin crimson in the bottom of that corner so I can mix those in eventually, wherever I want. So now I'm going to play around with those. I'm kind of excited about it. I am. And whenever you mix a new color, just keep in mind how much paint do you have on that brush and control the amount. I'll take a stroll around the room pretty soon. See how y'all are doing. Is everybody clear about the mixes? You following it, Petra?
Yep.
Cool. It does start to be pleasant, don't you find? It starts to feel like a puzzle. Once you start to get some of the shapes filled in.
Yep.
Good. This could be a cute little Christmas card, you know.
So
Choose
will
one
we add,
house. Pardon?
sorry, I was gonna say, so will we add anything to the white roofs?
Yeah,
Or
we're gonna do that as a separate task once everything is dry.
Okay,
Yeah. Another nice advantage about moving paint around, dropping in and lifting off, it starts to cover your little pencil marks, your tracing marks from the carbon or pencil or whatever. Nice brushwork, Marion. Got some good strong color in there too. How you doing with puzzling it all out, Karen?
Slow but sure.
I know it's a wee bit tricky, you know.
I did transfer before, but I didn't get all the detail.
It gets tough up next to the roof edges because you've got the snow coming down and it hanging over the eaves. So it's kind of a curvy line, and then shadow, and then the shadow on the wall or the exterior wall and windows and all of that. So I have to keep looking up at my reference more than I'm looking down.
Insane. I don't think my brain works that well anymore for sort of the direction and whatnot. I spend a lot of time puzzling out how to represent what I see on paper.
Because of the direction of your brush mark or the direction of the shapes?
Just figuring out how to draw the shape.
So you're noticing that, eh?
I think my brain's not really able to puzzle that out as well anymore.
So what would it be like if you, I don't know, it must be times that's a frustrating thing. I'm curious about you making it part of your creative expression is to do things that way. I hope that's not insensitive to say that. I'm just curious if it could be a bit of a style thing.
Well, I don't usually ever try to make it look exact like the original. I'm not really into that. I usually
No.
put my own spin on it, but you have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah. Wow.
When you said draw it in lightly, I sort of thought you meant like give yourself some sort of markings to know where things are, but I wasn't
Oh,
using the whole detail that had
right.
to there.
So it's quite light. You've got more pressure on you than I do. So you're having to try to figure that out. As you go forward, you'll start to notice there are times when you need your paint to be a little bit more of a creamy mix, because some of the trimmings around windows and roof lines and so forth are simply more opaque looking. So I'm starting to notice now places where I can drop in some of my exterior window frames and so forth. But I need the paint to be just a little bit creamier, so it doesn't look like just the actual exterior wall. So I'm doing that right now, painting around a window with paint that's pretty much the same, it's just a thicker consistency. So Karen, when you're in those moments, is it frustrating because you want to be able to do it the way you wanted to do it? Or is it like, oh, well, I can't do it that way, so I'll do it this way? I mean, I must just go through all kinds of,
Well, right now my meds aren't working either because I just was due for a dose. So,
kind of adds to it.
yeah, takes away.
And did you just take them?
I do get, yeah, just now. I do get frustrated with reproducing other people's stuff. I kind of,
Well, let's take that as an initiative for the new year.
that's like when I do it on my own at home. I just, look through my pictures or I take pictures specifically for painting. And I go from there. And I,
So that's what Tuesday class is here with Barbara. People bring their own stuff and she coaches them. It's just tricky
Mm,
being here and you guys there.
yeah,
But I like some of the ideas people come up with. Like when we did those plow horse bridges, it was from that was last year. It's from a magazine, but it was too, it was for Lynn, who ended up not being able to be here for it.
oh,
But I'm game to take a look at that. I mean, these references are pretty. But we could consider other ways to do things. I'm in. It's got to get past where things are right now to be able to get my mind around that a bit more.
on a positive note though, I got a fourth girl at the beach. And I think I captured Jazzy better than any of the other ones.
Did you say a fourth girl?
Girl at the beach.
Girl. Oh, I don't know.
It's a set. There's 4 of them now. She has 1.
Right.
I gave it to her when we were painting in at Grand Bend or wherever it was. But I've done 3 since then. Well, the 4th I'm working on.
So it looks like everyone's picking out the different tones and shades based off the yellow ochre. I think you're all deeply in it. When you get a moment, kindly send me a photo and get caught up with y'all. Patricia, I just found your message, just so you know.
Okay, Jenny, I just sent you one.
Okay, and you sent it by, yep, got it.
Yeah. And so because I didn't do it the exact, I'm of course missing a few things, right? Because I did it the size of the 5x7 paper.
Which is what I have done as well. Yeah, so you're getting into your little frames. This is gonna be really cute when you're done. And it's, you really got your shapes in there. I know exactly what those shapes are. That's really great. Yeah, good job. Well done. 1, 2. Oh, I see. Right. Got it. Okay, there. So are you working up at on this house right now?
I was jumping around.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So
yeah.
this house up here, you probably have a bit more. Yeah, it's like you've
Yeah, because I cut
got
it
just a
up.
little bit more.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So I'm missing, like, I won't have a lot of the trees at the top.
Right.
But that's okay.
It is. Yeah. And you got lots of work to do because as we do this, we see there's just lots and lots of areas to keep playing around in. Is it summer out there? My goodness. We should have all of our construction on the roads done well before the winter. They'll have no excuse.
Quite a mess out your way. The roads.
I wish they would redo my sidewalk.
What are they exactly doing? Sewers or curbs or what?
My understanding is it was sidewalks, but I don't know. I don't go up that way, although this morning I did. I went back to River Grove for my swim this morning. And am I ever glad I did? There was only like 5 people doing laps this morning. It was lovely. It was lovely.
They are doing sidewalks on Queen because they were working on some Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the sidewalks were closed. They were slicing between the red brick sections and the concrete sections to fill them in or something. I guess.
But you had lots of construction in front of your place, Karen. Is that over now?
No, we're having the whole driveway done and
Oh, that's right.
pathways. They dug down about 2 feet almost.
But the city, like there was all kinds on the roads and sidewalks and stuff in front of you, wasn't there?
Not a lot, no.
Oh.
There was some water main stuff going on that didn't come down to us. We've had some, well, I think they might have done some expansion to accommodate, like with some of the plumbing stuff or sewage stuff and whatnot. I think they had to do some work to accommodate the new townhomes.
So many new ones.
But most,
Guys, just as a quick little suggestion, when you get into doing like the wood shacks and stuff, that's a good opportunity to use your metal needle to score the paper to create the wood planks. So I'm doing that right now, making sure I use my metal needle on the exact angle. And then that's going to make it look like wood planks. These little tricks we have. Well, I'm grateful to live in a where they're fixing roads and things.
Mm-hmm. Here, here.
So once you start to switch into using a bit of more of that raspberry color, and you're doing some of the, like the little wooden shed and some of the frames, you're gonna start to find there's all kind of places that have that as well. So I think we'll just go with the flow because we still have an hour. And based on what I see you guys doing, I think we can just continue on switching our yellow ochre to gradually adding more of that cad medium, cad red pale, come on Jennifer, and then adding alizarin finally, so we can get into painting some of those colors and shapes here and there.
I'll be back in a couple minutes.
We'll be waiting for you. Everybody stop. You know, I like Karen's idea though. I bet it's getting more into doing pieces that are not replicating someone else's.
Mhm.
But I just need some guidance on that because I tend to do things. I mean, you guys, again, you're a class. I've never had a class go this long because usually I do kind of a beginner intro. But as we go forward into that, I think it's a great opportunity for everybody to have an idea of something they'd like to do. And I can pre-study it and set up process steps.
That would be good. I'd be up for that.
Was that you, Petra?
Yep, that was me.
Your voice sounded different. I'm like, who else joined the class? I don't know. Good. I think that's really fun. And then we can share more from, you know, what we're doing has a bit of a story to it. So I tend to pick up on things that people say and develop it from there. But yeah, let's do that. So Patricia, that includes you. Yeah, we may just end up doing these roofs. Well, I'd like to do them today. Let's just see how it goes.
It would be fun to do some gouache again too.
Yeah, which is going to mean that people need to open up their gouache kits and awaken
Yeah.
them, right? They can get a bit of bacteria in them. I did find the clove oil that I gave
Okay.
to Marion, so I can just, it's a drop in a spray gun kind of thing and just, well, you know, you're a scientisty person there, Petra.
I probably could use some clove oil too.
I think we all could. I just couldn't believe I was sitting next to the accountant today and she's not feeling great.
Oh no.
She said it's just a regular cold, not COVID. And I'm around people that have got stuff all the time. I mean, the kids, half the kids, parents have said, yeah, if you get COVID, you're still going to school. Because that's basically what they were told at the beginning of the school year. Anyway. I just wonder, I had a kind of a twitching eye for, it's going on 2 weeks now. And I kept wondering, like, what could this be? What could this be? And I think it's because I scraped paint off my front door and it probably had lead in it.
Oh,
It never
no.
occurred to me. Like something deep inside said, hey, Jen, remember when you painted that door and you sanded it first without a mask or glasses on? You think maybe that's the source? So it's feeling a lot better today. I don't know, in these older houses, you never know what the heck people were used to use. I know my daughter Becky's house is about the same age as this one, and they found everything from lead to asbestos to cadmium to all kinds of things in their home. So sometimes they had to go to a bed and breakfast or something while professionals came in and removed things.
Mm.
So I figure I probably got the same story going on here.
Speaking of COVID, my
What?
husband has it right now.
Who does?
Oh, no.
Oh, darn.
Went back to work today.
Oh, so he's recovering.
Kind of, yeah.
Wow, Karen. And you?
I didn't get it.
Hooray for that.
Mhm. I feel I'm immune. But that could be a dangerous way to think.
And is it because of anything that you would think that? Why would you think you are?
Because I don't usually catch viral things like flus and whatnot.
I've never had flu. Pedro, do you get flu?
I don't remember if I've ever had it. I don't think so.
Oh,
Well, my dad used to get it, so he'd
Oh.
get the shot. And that's when I realized, oh yeah, I've never had it. I don't need to get the shot.
Yeah, I used to not get the shot too, but then my mom got old and sensitive, and I just started getting it to protect other people, I guess,
Yeah.
as they say.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about now. I want to get people washing their hands when they come in the house again. I was lightening up a bit just because I felt like, oh, I got my 4 shots, so I'm okay.
But Vic actually went and got his flu shot because he went for a checkup at the doctor, got a flu shot and came home with COVID.
oh, gosh.
Is that where he thinks he got it, Karen, at the doctor's office?
No, he got it at work, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, okay.
The girl who's kind of running the front desk at the pool I go to, she went to Florida and came back with COVID, but it affected her sciatic nerve. So she's got like extreme sciatic pain as a COVID symptom.
Never heard of it.
I haven't heard of that one before.
Mm.
And she's super fit. She teaches the Zumba and all the, she's usually the supervisor at the pool. She's sitting, she can't hardly move.
Wow.
Vic just thought he was having a reaction to the vaccine, but it was pretty clear by the next morning that that wasn't the case.
I had a reaction. It was really weird. I got the shot on my left side and it traveled up my arm and my neck. and my jaw became numb. And then my jaw became so numb, it was like I'd had a dentist freezing.
Oh,
That was a weird one. It's all gone now. But I tell you what, I sure did not like getting COVID when I got COVID. So I don't want that again. All right, time to send me some more pics. Where are we at now? Half an hour. Marianne, you too.
Okay.
Hand it over, lady.
Oh,
You know, we can certainly stop and do all the rooftops and then come back in and drop color in. You just got to make sure you're blow drying between the layers. You don't want the roofs to bleed.
is my phone not working? Oh, it is.
I would not know.
Well, I mean, could you see my painting while I was painting it?
No, it was working. That's why I was making comments, but
Okay.
not enough that I can see it like, you know, up close and personal. Thank you, Petra. Oh, you got some little bit of sunshine in your windows. So your little shed worked out really great. Did you score that with your knitting
Yes.
needle? Yeah, that
Perfect.
worked out great. You got your lines right. Okay, so you're putting in some of the trim
mhm.
around windows and under roofs. Cool. You've darkened some of your kind of raspberry areas. Okay, Marion, yours just arrived. Good heavens, guys. Look at the confidence in those colors. That's terrific.
I can't get back in.
Yes, you can. I believe
I
in you.
got paint all over my phone. Okay, I'm going to.
Oh, you're missing one of the dormer windows. I did the same thing. I didn't transfer one of the dormer windows. So
Yeah.
you've got the one on the right and
I
you're
know, I
missing the
have
one on
to
the
do
left, and
them
I
in
got
the
the left
left.
and I'm missing the right. You'll figure it out.
We should blend them.
No. Yeah, I think we're best to continue just dropping in everything to do with this palette now. All the kind of yellow ochres to raspberry colors. And yeah, I love the way it's turned out. It's great. And that everybody's is different. Karen, you wanna? Do you want to send a pic? Nope. You're on mute, but I'm guessing that was a nope because your mouth went like,
I haven't painted anything yet.
oh. You see that though? I said your mouth went like,
How to. My yellow ochre and my whatever.
I think, you know, you'll get more into it as you go. So let's just continue with this. There's just something quite efficient about this. Be careful that you don't keep using the same colors. Just kind of clean them up and mix them up again if you need to. And just keep on keeping on. Keep on trucking. If you're in the window, you probably need to add a little bit of water by now, because the sun's just gonna dry everything up. But it's fun finding all these little shapes. And it's just great I mean, so much of what I do when I teach a painting is really to help you to try different skills and different mixes. I think this piece is great for just a lot of control of how much is on your brush. Noticing. I'm starting to feel the medication helping a bit, Karen.
Not a lot yet.
Like 20 minutes or so. How long does it take to start to feel it?
I don't know, depends on the day. Sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes 50. Or sometimes an hour and a half. Depends what you do, what you eat, and what not.
Do you have to have something to eat just to protect your stomach a bit?
It's better to have an empty stomach for the effectiveness of the medication. Or an almost empty stomach. Has to get through to your small intestine before it can connect with your brain. If you eat protein,
Yeah.
then it's competing with the protein for the receptors that'll lead it up to your brain.
Oh,
So you gotta watch what you eat and when you eat.
How long have you been dealing with this, Karen? Taking medication?
Diagnosed in 2015.
wish we could all just snap our fingers 3 times and simultaneously and take it away.
Yes, yeah.
It's been just a treat getting to know you and your sense of humor. Just managed to get past your face. It doesn't always have the expression to go with it. And just it's that kind of humor that catches me off guard.
Hmm.
I find out you're being funny and it's very funny. And like you said, you used to be more like that. It's just you.
Yeah, I've always been pretty quiet about anything like that.
I've never been quiet. What's that mean?
I'm shocked.
Hey. Yeah, it's true. Take after me, dear dad. Do you find that as you get older, Petra, that you see that you or your sister are more like your mom or dad?
Oh, yeah,
Doesn't it seem to show up more as you get older?
yes.
Yeah,
You too, Marion?
yeah.
Who are you more like?
I think my mom, which is startling to me, but
And your mom lived with you there for years, right?
Since we moved in this house, she was probably here, that was in 2000, 12 years maybe before she went to a retirement home, which was supposed to just be a brief thing. But so she got stronger from the surgery she'd had. But it didn't quite end up that way. And then she came home when she was palliative.
Oh, that's how that went.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew she was with you to the last,
Yep.
the chariots came.
Yeah.
Oh, Karen, I couldn't have found something more detailed and tiny, could I? Lots of tiny details in this one.
Okay. My hand is slow right now, so it's good for detail, I guess.
Do you ever like fatten up your brush a bit, like wrap tape around to make it thicker to hold it?
No, I don't really need it.
Hi, Chris. You're early. Again. Wow.
Welcome home.
He's one day last week or a couple of days, it was like almost a 2-hour drive from Toronto. But now he seems to be clearing up. So.
No, I mean, it's been like that a lot, all that construction, but hallelujah for it. 'Cause some of those some of those drives are just so slow with the amount of traffic.
Yeah.
I'm back in tomorrow. I'm usually in Toronto a couple days a week.
What are you doing in Toronto?
I draw and paint naked people.
You
You
and my
asked.
brother.
Not quite. What?
You
What?
and my brother, I showed you the picture he did of somebody taking their shirt off.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Now I go to Nielsen Park with a group of friends, and we, I've done this for a few years. It's just really good for seeing shape, training your eye to see shape. And terrific models, just they are artists in their own right. They're not just standing there with a naked body, they're actually telling a story with the way that their expression and their hand is, and it's like, surprise or having just dropped something or whatever. And you just get used to, you don't think about them as, you just think of them as shape and form. And
Jenny,
it's just, huh?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, and it's interesting because these days it's a lot more of, well, we get transvestites and people that are he, she's and all kinds of stuff. And it's like, I think for them, it's part of their kind of safe world.
Wow.
So that's been an experience. I don't know how else to put that. It's just been, it's been a good experience to just take a look at myself and think, what are my thoughts and reactions right now? And just accepting a person for the person that they are and not with judgment and being uncomfortable or whatever.
And are you, is it charcoal or how are you?
Everything. So we start off with gesture drawing. So you do a series of maybe 10 sketches, and each of them are 5 seconds. So you're doing a very quick sweep with your whatever you got in your hand, typically a big stick of charcoal. And then you move to 15 seconds and then have 30 seconds and then 1 minute. And so we do a whole bunch of those very quick poses, sometimes one on top of another on one sheet. And then gradually we work towards something like only negative space or making everything look cylindrical. So almost like doing, what do you call it when you're looking at a map and it shows the peaks and valleys and land?
Topographic.
Topical?
Yeah,
Yes.
so we do topographical, and then we'll do things where we have to use. We can only put 30% of the lines for a full sketch, so you have to choose 30% of it, or so they keep throwing challenges down, and then you end up with something like, now we're up to doing a full hour where we're doing charcoal or painting or whatever, but we have to do something like extreme foreshortening. So you have a really big foot in front of you, and like the model has the foot sticking out, and then you have to do the foreshortening where the head is like a quarter the size of the foot. So it just gets you to think out of the box for sure.
Yeah.
And it's a great group of people. Everybody's very honoring to the model, and yeah, different people's styles start to show up. Pedro, you were going to say something. What were you going to say?
Well, no, I was gonna ask, and then you were gonna do calligraphy. Are you doing your calligraphy course?
I could not, because they ended up moving it so that it's going on right now, and I'm already in a course right now. So I do one. I try to have an away, like at least half a day where I'm totally away from Kaleidoscope. And
Yeah.
so I'm gonna have to see about, yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to talk about that with you, because
Well, that's, yeah.
so it turns out it's a different association and they just rent the space there. So I would like to get into that. I just haven't, I've been too busy to look at something else. And yesterday I had an interview with a lady who is 87 to come and start teaching here.
Wow.
So she's into printmaking and mark making, and she uses something called a jelly pad and just a bunch of funky stuff. But I really love the idea of some of my young students being around someone who, she was a elementary teacher for over like for 60 years or something in downtown Toronto, and just a lot of life experience and really good character. And she comes in with her walker, and she has a bag attached because she's had a number of operations, but she just came back from Europe and she walked 4K with her walker. And I don't know, just for these kids
that's
to be
cool.
around magnificent people that are
Yeah.
inspiring, you know. But anyway, she's part of that group, and she's the reason why I first started going to Nielsen Park is because of her.
Oh, that's cool.
Whereabouts is Nielsen Park?
It's near Sherway Gardens.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like a creative center, and it's mostly, I'd say there's a lot, well, there's every kind of program. I'm only ever there when the seniors are there. Apparently I'm one of those. And just a great group. Like some people belong to other art groups and they rent the space there. So there's like the Humber Valley Arts group, and so anyways, they all meet there too. So yeah, I'm hoping to do the calligraphy, italics, all that kind of stuff. I'd love to do that. Just got to get it to jive with the rest of my schedule. Just gotten way busier.
That's what we do. We get things sort of under control and then we are busier again.
What is that? Everybody's
Fill
saying
up
that.
every empty second, I guess.
You know, it's like at the last night's class, people are just talking about how they're just busier than they were before COVID. It just snuck up on them and they're not happy about it. And they're just swamped and stressed and wondering how on earth they got back to that again.
Yeah, it's easy to do, I guess.
Well, in my case, thankfully, it's bumped me into getting professional help, whatever that means. So the accountant, as you know, with getting invoices and stuff, but it's just really, really nice. And now I have a group that helps. It's a company that helps small businesses by just taking up pieces that are not my strong area, and I pay them to do it instead. So I can spend more time with people doing things I want to do.
That's great.
Look, guys, I just, instead of going with the let's do the roofs, I'm just going with like, we're gonna keep doing this right to the end of the class. So we'll come in next week with the roofs because it's quite I want to take us through a bit of a skill builder first. So let's just settle into the last 15 minutes, just taking your palette, starting to get into a bit of the where you see shadow lines, noticing all the different tones and shades of things. Just keep layering.
And what are the blues? Because they seem to be pretty
The
well the
blues?
same.
Hmm?
The
The
blues.
blues?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it'd be nice to contrast that, but the way I'm looking at each of your pictures, they actually look really lovely right now. So I think we're just gonna, just because time is like this too, I think it's more efficient for time if we just keep working on exactly what we're doing right now. So if you're getting to the point where you've got a lot done, Marion, you can get into adding some sap greens and then just warming them up with yellow or cooling them down a bit with burnt umbers and blues, like getting in some of those green tones
Yeah.
that you see here and there, because you'll start to see there's quite a bit that's a warmer than the sap green. So I'm adding a bit of yellow ochre to those to brighten them up a little. Some of the window frames, I've done them here. These are all that kind of tone. And there's these little blinds up here. I just think we're in a flow that I don't want to change direction based on what I'm seeing around the camera. Right,
Mm-hmm.
left, right, left. Yeah. Yeah, so Karen, when you were just getting taking a moment off camera, we were just saying, let's go ahead with making some plans as we go into the new year to do some studies on things you guys would like to paint.
I could hear.
I like that idea. Oh, did you hear that? I like that idea. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We all like that idea.
Hmm.
Well, apparently I missed a whole area. It's a very little area.
And there's 2 windows and 1 dormer.
That you didn't transfer? That
Yeah.
one? Yeah, so same
Yeah.
here. I'm sure everybody's right. Pedro, have you found a place where you didn't transfer something?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Normal.
Now,
But
the
the
one
more
thing,
yeah.
I was just gonna say, the one thing that helped me when I was tracing, because I used pencil, and I could see the indentations of where I had drawn.
So you use that.
Yeah, so that, like, instead of lifting up all the time, it was like, because it was pretty fresh, right? I can't see
Right.
it now, but when I was doing it, I could see indentations.
So that kind of gave you like scoring it a bit. You can
Yeah,
use
yeah.
that as a guideline. Yeah, and it's nice to use all these different techniques. It just makes the whole piece quite interesting. And again, we're really not so much copying them because they were using oil. And then that's blue, and then this one's okay. Tis a puzzlement. Also, I have a group that's here in person on Tuesdays, and they really wanted to get into only landscapes, and I never just teach landscapes. So I think that's part of the reason I ended up doing this with you guys. I'm like, oh, maybe you'd like this too. And I think everyone kind of liked the idea first, but yeah, let's just look at how quickly we're going to be into January and get some fun ideas of things we can look forward to. You got me excited now. Did anybody print their poinsettias? Not yet.
I'm
That's
not-
the sound of not yet.
I'm not printing mine.
No.
No. It's not good enough.
I've got ideas of things I'd like to do, but then it's like actually getting it done.
Yeah, true.
I've been commissioned to do like 20 custom cards and like when?
Wow.
It's like I need to go book myself into a hotel for a couple of days and just make myself do it. Because once you get into it, it's lovely. I mean, it can almost not stop. Just got to get into that pocket.
Get into an Airbnb
Yeah.
at the beach.
Yeah.
Like you.
Hmm.
Oh. Hmm.
What do those sound effects mean, Marion?
Well, I see that my stencil also, like where those 3 windows are, my windows are going into the roof. So I don't know which way is better to do it, make the roof smaller or. Hmm.
Well, your iPhone's off, so I see the lovely top of your head, and that's about it, Marion.
I couldn't get it back on to put it on here again.
So you can take a pic if you want to send pics. I like to see what y'all are doing. It's definitely easier when I get a picture. Just be 1 sec.
Sounds like their flattener thing out there just died.
Like what?
They have like a thing to flatten out the gravel
Oh,
driveway. Sounds like it's like out of gas or something.
maybe it's quitting time for them.
It is quitting time pretty soon, but although yesterday they stayed pretty late. Because they'd missed a couple of days with a broken front end loader and a
Oh.
day of rain.
Mhm.
It's quite the ordeal there. Sure working hard.
What's your driveway?
Our driveway is 120 feet from the road,
Wow.
and we have like a single lane, pretty wide single lane up to the carport. And then down closer to the road, we have a turnaround section,
Mm-hmm.
parking lot. It'll fit about 3 good sized cars, maybe 4. I'm not, depends on the sizes, but it's pretty big. And then it's kind of double wide at the sidewalk and the road. And then
It-
we also have 2 paths that lead up to the house from both sides of the driveway. And that's being done too.
Petra, there's nothing about the camera being able to show everybody else. Petra's beautiful greens contrasting everywhere now, and I just can't show you. They look beautiful.
Cute.
I have a antacid in my mouth, so sorry if you hear things scraping against my teeth. Thankfully, I'm not on a microphone. Yeah, it's really cute seeing the differences with the greens in there.
It's funny, I've messed up some of the white. I dropped my brush at one point. It's a good thing it's not white.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's a few spots where I've run my hand and messed something up.
I've done the same thing
Have you? Yeah.
in places, and I tried to wipe out the color, but it ain't
Just
happening.
part of the snow.
Yep.
So if you want to start to get into a bit of the browns, you could. It's getting a bit tight on time. But I would say just putting in a bit of a raw sienna wash on some of these areas where we have light browns and the shacks. Just remember, because we've been painting for quite a while now, light wash, because you can always darken it. And you can use your metal needle to do the scoring for the planks of wood for all these little shacks or sheds or. The way this is going, what we'll do is next week we'll do the blues, the roofs, the blacks, and the details, right? Just the way this went. You don't have to score things. You can just change your tones as well to get these wood variations of shades in the wood.
I picked up Jaslyn from school on Thursday, I think it was last week, or one of those days anyway. And I gave her a choice of things we could do, go for a walk, and, you know, or I could drop her at home. She could play video games, whatever she does. One of the choices was to come over to my place and paint. And that's what she chose.
Wow, what?
Cool.
She did a sunset picture. It was really good.
How old is she?
13.
Nice.
Is she your granddaughter?
Mhm.
And my neighbor. She's a couple doors down from me here.
Oh, cool.
Every now and then I can tell they've got their fire pit going in the back because I love that smell.
Mm.
Oh, they're out doing something. Tough thing is at the top of that road where people rev up their engines, and I often feel bad for them. It's people who
Yeah.
just don't think beyond themselves, you know?
Oh, I don't.
Is it Dan is your son-in-law? No.
Daniel's my son.
Oh, right. His wife is right. Not.
He is not my son or my daughter. Feels like she is.
Thanks for that.
And she's not my non-binary either.
We're both blessed to have our kids around, and you, Marion, with your one son at home, eh?
Yeah. Although I don't know if he thinks it's of that way. He's just trying to get some money to get so he can get out of here. It's just so hard. He's got another
Well,
year
it just
before
is.
his apprenticeship is over, I think, maybe another year and a half.
What is he apprenticing in?
Electrician.
Oh, that's a good one.
Good for him to be in trades, because you don't get much of that anywhere anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, he enjoys it, although it's a lot of work.
I have a nephew who apprenticed, or no, I guess he's a second cousin.
Mhm.
My cousin, yeah, he apprenticed as an electrician, and it did really well for him.
I think you'll always find work.
Mhm. Well, and you
I don't
can-
know much about being an electrician, but I do hear just how few people go into the trades anymore.
Mhm. They're
looking
money
for
makers.
more people all the time.
I guess the only issue with them is that you don't easily get to make your own hours, kind of. Like if you're like working your own business, which a lot of people would head into trades like that so that they could work on their own, right?
Yeah.
And make good money, but they're called out in all hours.
Right.
I guess it depends on whether you're doing residential or commercial or industrial, you know.
Is he studying through Humber or Sheridan? Or?
No, he got involved in a program, and I don't know what it stands for, JAC. They interviewed, and they had to, I don't know how many applications they had, quite a few in Ontario. And then they go through a process of interviewing and testing and physical testing and things like that. And then they took 100 out of, I think it was 800, or maybe it was twice as many. I don't
Oh,
know.
really?
Yeah. So they
Well, good for him. That must have
oversee.
felt good.
Yeah, he really likes it. I think he's learning so much. When he starts talking, I can't figure out what the heck they're talking about, him and John, but I picked up a few things. But I think he's enjoying this new company too. So it often
And he's
depends what
apprenticing with them?
Yeah. But I mean, that can change too. They might finish that job, or they might, if they like him, they might send him to a new job that they're doing, because they're a big, big company. But you know, he's got lots of perks with this company as far as having equipment and things like that provided. I can't believe how detailed yours is, Jenny.
Well, look who's talking. Yours is pretty detailed. Just in case you didn't know.
My details kind of slipped a bit. I mean, I think I should just redo the tracing of it and catch up to where we are for next week.
So this is a lot of a painting. So I did start out with that. It really is not a quick boop-de-boop, we're done kind of painting.
No.
But I think it gives us that nice feeling of a puzzle sort of settling in. It takes a bit to get your head into it. And then you
Mhm.
start to not even have to think about it because you're just doing it, you know? And I think as long as you don't hurry along and just let yourself enjoy the process. We're just past 5, so I will go so I get ready for the next class. But what I'm going to suggest is that you do all these warm tones and start to get into the wood as well. Try to get as much of this palette done as possible. So I'm starting to work in the woodwork down here. Starting to put a few shadows underneath, but see how far you can go with your yellow ochres and your greens and your raspberries, and then getting into a bit of the burnt sienna, burnt umber, bit blue if you want to gray it out, which is what I did up here, just adding a bit of blue to my browns, just to get different shades. It's going to really come alive when we put the dark, when we put the,
Blue.
hello. So when we start to get in all of our blacks and get our sharp edges and details, and then the blue for contrast for sure, and then the roof. So let me just talk about the roof. The roof is on fire. So for the
Yeah.
roof, we're going to be doing a shape where we drop in water first, and then we're going to be just touching in little bits of kind of a bit of a raspberry tone, because raspberry, to make that kind of coral, we're using yellows and raspberries, but we're going to be just tapping a little bit of tone into it, just to give you this idea. And then as it's starting to dry, we're going to go back in with a clean brush and tap again to lift it right back to white again. And that will give us that mottled effect. So
What color is the raspberry? Is that the Lucerne?
there, I can barely show you what that's looking like. Yeah, so it's getting a bit of the bit of lemon yellow and a bit of the alizarin and mixing them. And then as we pop them in here, sorry, it's just really don't know what to do to show you the effect there because it's here. But as we get into tapping in with a clean brush, we're going to be lifting back to the white again. So we'll play around on a swatch paper at the beginning of the next class, and we'll do one roof after another, like set, bingo, kind of getting this so they don't touch each other. And then we can go back in after it's fully dry and drop in our blues and our blacks and our trimming things up.
Okay.
So that's where we're at.
Look what I just got.
What did you just get? I
Cupcakes?
am changing my cameras.
Oh, that looks good.
Those cupcakes?
Halloween thingies. I don't know if they're
Okay, girls, let's get in our cars and go.
gonna let you know. From the neighbors, I gave them some Halloween stuff for their kids, and
Oh,
because they don't go out trick or treating, and they couldn't come, like they'll usually just come to my door. And like they never, their mom used to just say they didn't celebrate it. But anyway, so
I can think of other things I'd rather celebrate.
I always buy stuff just for them, and they usually come to the door. But today, this year, I mean, they couldn't get to our door because everything was like, it wasn't safe.
Yeah.
Oh, with the construction.
It's all dug out,
Yeah.
like a real drop off.
I don't seem to be going up that way much, but I'll have to intentionally go see what's going on in your property. Are you still seeing wasps?
No,
I got a huge wasp nest in a tree up there. I'm so tempted to take the classes outside and then boom, it's dark and cold. So have a good rest of your day. Sunday, if you guys are, Marion and Karen, if you're around, the new gallery paintings are in and they're really funky and fun. So between 9 and 3, the gallery's open. You can just stop in, I'll put the kettle on, have a cup of tea if you like. And then Petra was here today and she's been in to see. I love y'all. I'm going to stop recording. So Patricia, feel better. We missed you today.
Yeah.
And Lynn, hope you're getting a tan. Okay, bye guys.